And we are back again. Yes, I know it's been a while. I started a full-time job, so yeah, been at work all day, but cannot wait to find out what goes on in this chapter. So I'm going to read the last couple of chapters for chapter 25, and then we'll go on to chapter 26. Buddy. And then he puts it in my arms. It's warm, it's wiggly, it's all furry. It lifts up its nose and it licks my face. It starts making little noises, and Daddy says, "Take it out of here before it wakes up baby Terrell." "Merry Christmas, son," Mama says, and I can hear in her voice she's smiling. Chapter 26. I named that dog Rover. Mama says, "Why'd you name him that?" I shrugged. "It sounds like a dog name." "Why didn't you name him Lil B?" Daddy says, "for Little Buddy." "He ain't Little Buddy," I say. "He ain't even close." And he ain't. In the first place, he's white with brown spots, and Buddy was black. In second place, he's got short, stiff hair, and Buddy's hair was longer and soft when I brushed it. In third place, he's a yippy little puppy, and Buddy was full grown. In the fourth place, he got 4 legs. In the fifth place, well, that dog just ain't Little Buddy. So, I call him Rover. He's got to live in that little bitty apartment with us 'cause we ain't got no yard. He's got a wire cage he sleeps in at night, but during the day, he's hopping all over everything. I'm pulling him off Grandpa T's sofa and out from underneath the Christmas tree and out of the laundry basket. And the whole time his tail is going whap, whap, whap. And he's looking up at me and grinning like he's proud of all his foolishness. I sit down with him on the floor to tell him things, but he won't stay still. He jumps up on my lap and puts his feet on my chest and tries to lick my face. I push him back on the floor and I say, "Sit still when I'm talking to you." But he don't mind me. He just jumps up again, his tail wagging like he thinks we're playing. Baby Terrell thinks it's so funny. He rocks over to the dog and goes bop on his back end, and when the dog jumps up, Baby Terrell's mouth pops open and he laughs and laughs. Tanya has to keep pushing him off her dolls. He gets hold of one that's cloth in the middle and pulls off the plastic bottom half of one leg. Tanya's crying like that doll's a real person. I say she has so many she ought to give one to Rover to play with. She's so mad she takes a broke doll and throws it across the room. Rover thinks it's a game. He runs after that doll and grabs it and won't never give it back. It's his now, no matter what Tanya says. He sits there with it in his mouth and shakes it at us like he's saying, "Come on, try to take it. Come on, and see what happens." Mama's mouth gets all pinched up and she says, "Little T, you're going to have to teach that dog some manners." I put him on a leash and I take him outside, but I don't know how to teach him manners. He won't listen to me. To tell the truth, nobody listens to me. It comes on January and I think to myself, I ain't seen a place look so gray. Of course, all the pine trees in Mississippi are broke. So what other trees there are got knocked over or the branches got ripped off, and besides, ain't got no leaves in the wintertime anyway. Then it's raining. It ain't like rain in New Orleans. In New Orleans, when it rains, it pours, just like it says on the salt box. It fills up the street sometimes, it rains so much, but it don't hardly ever rain all day long. Mostly it rains in the afternoon. It pours over for a while, then it clears up, and before you know it, sun comes out again. In Mississippi, it rains all day long. just a little bit. I'm sitting there in that teeny tiny apartment, can't go outside but long enough to let Rover do his business. And I'm thinking, how come it can't just come down all at once and get it over with? Then it's cold. It gets cold in New Orleans, too. But it's only cold for, say, one day. Then it warms up again. Here it's cold for days and days. When school starts up again, Mama says we got to have coats and gloves. She gets Tanya a coat with what looks like a fur collar. She gets her some gloves with 3 little balls like a flower stuck on the back of the hand part. Tanya wears that coat and those gloves every day like she's a princess. Mama says, what kind of coat do I want? And I say, I don't want a coat. What am I doing living in a place where I need a coat? Mama says, I'm acting like a fool. She says, I better straighten up. I say, make me. And she purses up her lips like she's sucking a lemon. I lay on the sofa and look at the rain and close my eyes. I try my flying trick again, but there ain't nowhere to go. Everything I go looking for is gone. Our house, my bicycle, my friends, my dog. I can't pretend I'm sitting at the table drawing pictures with Jamila, or sitting in the shed feeding dog biscuits to Buddy. I can't pretend Buddy's slobbering over his biscuits, and his whole body's jerking, he's so excited, and Grandpa T is saying, why do you love that ugly old dog so much? And Mama's calling me into the house to bag pralines, and it's warm outside. And the sky is blue, and down the street kids are playing, and there's music. I can't pretend, 'cause it ain't there no more. Ain't none of it there no more. When I try my flying trick, I can't even get off the ground. Then it gets to be Valentine's Day. Tanya and Mama make pralines for everybody in Tanya's class. They spend all day Saturday. They ain't got the little bags anymore, but Mama wraps each one in cellophane and ties it with a red ribbon. Tanya's cutting hearts out of paper and writing names on them with a red marker. She can't even make her S's worth anything. They're mostly backward, and that's bad because it looks like almost everybody in her class has an S in their name. Sally, Samantha, Sarah, Susan. Mama says, do I want some for my class? And I just say, Well, then take that dog outside, Mama says, for he drives me crazy. I tell Rover to drop his doll, and he must think I'm telling him to hide it. I finally catch him up under the bed and get a leash on him, and out we go. They ain't nowhere to walk except up and down that 6-lane highway, but Rover thinks that's the best place in the world. He's snuffling along with his nose glued to the ground, and then all of a sudden, he's heading off toward somebody's patch of grass to dig a little hole. I yank him off that, and then he starts trotting down the sidewalk, pulling me one way and then the other, barking at birds and barking at cars. I'm thinking it's a good thing he ain't no bigger than a puppy, because if he's any bigger, he'd drag me right into the street. When I've had all I can take, we head on back to the apartment, and there's Mama with a whole extra box of pralines and a big old grin on her face saying, we made you some anyway. And I'm supposed to be happy about it. Next day at school, Miss Watson gives everybody in the class a teensy little box of Valentine candy. Some of the girls give her a box back, but I leave those pralines in my book bag. Miss Watson does a speech on who St. Valentine is and why we've got this day and how it's all about love. Then she leaves off teaching for a little while so we can eat the candy. The boys are all rolling their eyes. They're saying to each other that's the stupidest thing they've ever heard. One brother says, if I'm going to give a girl something, it ain't going to be candy. And everybody laughs, even me. After our party, Miss Watson says we're going to learn to write letters. She goes on and on about what to write where. Then she says we're going to practice. She says to think of somebody we ain't talked to in a long time. We can write a letter to that person, and Miss Watson will put it in the mail for us. I know exactly who I'm going to write. I pick up my pencil and I get going. Dear Jamila, I write, why haven't you answered my letters? Then I tell her about everything. It takes me 3 pages of writing, front and back. I don't even stop to look up. At the end, I do just like Miss Watson says, and I write, Sincerely, Lil T. That looks stupid, though, so I erase it and change it to Love, Lil T. But that ain't right neither, so I erase it one more time and just write Lil T. That seems like it ought to be enough. I write all the address I can remember on the envelope and hand it in to Miss Watson. Then I give Miss Watson the whole box of pralines to take home for herself. 2 weeks after that, Miss Watson calls me up to her desk at lunch. She's holding that letter in her hand. She gives it back to me. It has 2 words stamped on the front. Insufficient address. Chicago is a big city, she's saying. You need more than just the street. You need the house number, too. I don't know it, I say. Do you have it written down at home? All that stuff's gone. Gone? I shrug. Washed away. Don't you know her phone number? I shake my head. Does she know yours? She don't know where we're living now. Miss Watson and I just stare at the letter. It looks all dirty now, not clean and white like when I sent it off. I guess I stopped talking and shrugged. I guess ain't no way to send it then. She shakes her head. But keep it, she says. I don't want it, I say, and start tearing it in half. Don't do that, Tyrone. It's a beautiful letter. She's gone, I say. Grandpa T says comes a time. I rip that letter into so many pieces it looks like a pile of confetti laying in the bottom of the trash can. Miss Watson's watching me the whole time. Then I walk outside and stand in the cold and rain all by myself. Right before the bell rings, that boy Jerome comes up to me and looks me over. What are you doing standing here all by yourself, he says. Thinking. About what? Stuff. He hikes up his pants a little and looks me over again. Some of us are getting together after school. There's a place behind the Winn-Dixie. We got some weed. You want to come? I don't turn my head to look at him. I keep my eyes on the jungle gym. There's a girl hanging upside down and laughing. I can't, I say. How come? Got work. He nods. Next time, maybe. I nod back, and he walks away. And that's the end of chapter 26. Chapter 27. Next time Miss Watson calls me up to her desk, it ain't about a letter. This time she asks real quiet why I ain't done my homework. I shrug my shoulders and look out the window. She says I was doing so good at the first of the year, and now I ain't. She says, is anything troubling me? And I say, no, ma'am. She says, well, go finish this homework right now. You'll need this study sheet for the test. I'll look it over after lunch. I sit back down at my desk. What is the capital of Peru? The question says. Who was the first explorer to cross the Andes? List the 3 main exports of Brazil. I put my head down on my desk. I fall asleep. When I wake up, there's a wet spot on the paper and I've missed my lunch. The day before Mardi Gras, Mama leaves out to buy a king cake the minute I come home from school. You watch Tanya and Terrell, she says, and I'll go find us a king cake. We might as well get whatever Mardi Gras we can get. Tanya says she wants chocolate cream, and I say I want plain, and Mama says we don't get to choose. She says she'll just get what she can get, and we better be happy. But ain't nobody in that town sells king cake. She's gone a long time. When she comes back empty-handed, we can't believe it. We're sitting at the table that night, and Daddy's saying what made Mama think they've got king cake in a place like this. And Mama says she has never been anywhere in her life where they don't have king cake. And Daddy says, that's 'cause you ain't never been out of New Orleans. And Mama says, well, where all have you been, Mr. World Traveler? And Daddy says, you forget, I was in the service. I've been all kinds of places. And Mom says, so I guess you're smarter than everybody else sitting at this table. And Daddy starts to say something back, and then he stops. And everybody at the table gets real quiet. I look at Daddy, and I see he's looking at Mama. It's going to be all right, he says to her. We're going to make it. Mama nods her head a little bit and pinches up her lips, and then she says, it's not about the cake. She turns her head and looks at me. It's about little T. All the eyes swivel around to look at me. What about little T? Daddy says. And I know he's thinking he ain't got a stick in this apartment. I was going to wait till after we ate, Mama says. But I might as well go ahead now. She looks toward the window for a second and then starts up again. I didn't go out just to buy king cake. I went by little T's school, too. She looks back at me. They called me this afternoon, she says. She ain't taking her eyes off me, and ain't none of them taking their eyes off me. They say he hasn't been at school today. They say he's getting the F's. I feel like I'm sitting in a fire. I feel like the end of the world has come. Is that true, son? Daddy says. I look down at my hands resting on top of my napkin. My fingers are all twisted in a knot. I can't hardly move, but I'm just barely able to nod my head. Look at me, Daddy says. I manage to raise up my head and look at his shirt. Look me in the eye. I lift up my eyes, and there's his face. There are his eyes looking straight at me. Where did you go? He says. The mall, I say. What did you do at the mall? Walk and sit. Who were you with? Nobody. He's looking at me hard. His eyes are all squinched up. Tanya's eyes are big as saucers. Baby Terrell picks up his spoon and throws it on the floor. Mama bends down, picks it up, and wipes it off. Is that the truth? Daddy says. Yes, sir. Go to your room. The rest of us are going to finish eating. I stand up. My chair makes a noise. I start to push it back to the table, then I give up. I go in my room and I shut my door. I lay down on my bed and I can't believe it. I start to cry. I cry and cry and cry and cry. I stop for a while and then I start up again. I cry with my pillow on my head and without it. I curl up in a ball and then I flop around like one of Tanya's cloth dolls. I cry quiet and I cry loud. And all that time nobody comes in the room, not even Tanya. When I'm finally done, it's way past bedtime and I need to go to the bathroom. The whole apartment is quiet. I open my door and it don't squeak a bit. I do my business, and when I'm back in the living room again, I nearly jump out of my skin. There's Grandpa T, stretched out on the sofa looking straight at me. My heart stops. He sits up, and then my heart starts beating again, 'cause I see it ain't Grandpa T at all. It's Daddy. Son, he says, sit down. That dog Rover ain't in his wire cage. He's all curled up at Daddy's feet. When I sit down, he lifts up his head and his tail goes whap, whap. What do you want in life, son? Daddy says. I don't answer. Whatever it is, skipping school ain't the way to get it. I still don't say nothing. Tomorrow, I'm taking you to school. I'm going to walk with you to see the principal. I'm going to walk with you to see your teacher. But I ain't always going to be around to take those hard walks with you. This is just practice for when you have to do it by yourself. He waits for me to say something, but I ain't got nothing to say. I'm going to miss some work, and it's going to cost us some money. So, you've got to pay us back. I raise up my head and I look at him. I'm going to New Orleans this weekend. I've decided I'm going to start mucking out the house. Mama don't like it, but I've decided I'm going to do it. And you're going to help me all day Saturday. On Sunday, you're going to sit in this apartment and you're going to study. You can't make up those tests, but you can learn what was on them. Every time I go to New Orleans from now on, you're coming and you're working. You're working hard and you're working for free. Every Sunday from now on, you're studying and you're studying hard. Ain't no F going to come through the door of my house. Ain't no skipping school going to sit at my table. I'm shivering in the cool, but I don't move. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, sir. You got anything you need to tell me, son? I'm quiet for a little while. Then I find my voice. Some of the brothers are smoking weed behind the Winn-Dixie after school. They asked me to come, but I ain't done that, Daddy. And I won't, I promise. I can tell Daddy's looking hard at me in the dark. Can I trust you, son? Yes, sir. He nods. Anything else? When I saw you laying on the sofa, I thought you were Grandpa T. I can't believe it. My voice gets all bumpy when I say that. Daddy don't say nothing for a while, then he sucks in a deep breath. Go on to bed, he said. It's cold. I stand up. Rover hops off the sofa, too. Daddy watches me walk to the door of the bedroom. When I push it open, Rover zips inside and jumps up on my bed. I don't push him off. I lay down beside him. I hear Daddy's voice talking to Mama in the other room. I hear Rover snuffling his nose once or twice. I put my hand on his back, and I go to sleep. And that's the end of chapter 27. And I think I'm going to stop right there. So, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you peace. Talk to you next time. Bye.